Akira wakes up after 1,000 years. He suddenly falls hard to the ground and gets startled. When he stands up, he notices all his injuries are gone and realizes he has no clothes on. He looks around, confused about where he is, and walks toward a ray of light. When he steps out, he is shocked to see a ruined city. Somewhere else, a cloaked woman whispers his name. Meanwhile, Akira looks around in confusion, thinking he might be dreaming. But a pebble hits his head and proves he is awake. He looks back and assumes he fell into this place. His memory seems lost. Soon, a man and a girl arrive, speaking an unknown language. They kneel before him, calling him the Wise One. The man explains that an earthquake caused the ruins to collapse and they came to check if he is safe. The man's daughter teases Akira and her father quickly stops her, apologizing for her manners. Akira tries to assure them he is fine and stands up but collapses weakly to the ground. Later, a bull pulls a cart driven by the man, with his daughter and Akira resting in it. After some time, Akira wakes up. The girl tells her father, who asks if Akira feels better. Akira thanks them for helping him and says they must have mistaken him for someone else. He introduces himself as Akira Himegami. The man, still respectful, introduces himself as Wiya, the chief of a nearby village, and his daughter, Edie. Akira asks about the Wise One. Wiya explains that the Wise One is a god their village worships, enshrined in the ruins as the divine being who grants knowledge. He says Akira has been asleep there long before he was born, and their village was tasked by OWEL to protect the ruins. Wiya expresses his amazement that Akira has finally awakened. Akira is stunned to hear he has been asleep for so long. Looking at the ruins, he wonders if a war once took place there. He suddenly experiences a flash of memory and tries to recall Tawasa, but pain strikes his head. Concerned, Edie calls out to him. Wiya tells him they are almost at the village called Hakodate. At the mention of Hakodate, Akira realizes something. He looks back at the ruins, then at a nearby tower he recognizes as Goryokaku Tower. Memories of a family trip during middle school return to him. Seeing how destroyed everything is, he feels a strong ache in his head. Edie urges him to rest, and Akira agrees, lying down while trying to convince himself this must be a dream. At Wiya's home, his wife is surprised to see the Wise One sleeping peacefully. She approaches, amazed to see him in person. Wiya tells her to give Akira some space. Akira soon wakes up, and Wiya asks how he feels. Akira asks where he is, and Wiya explains this is his home. Wiya's wife gently tells Akira to take it easy. Akira insists he is fine. She smiles and assures him that even though their home is simple, they will do their best to make him comfortable. During dinner, Wiya listens with fascination as Akira talks about the old world's technology. Wiya is shocked at how advanced it used to be compared to now. Even his wife finds it hard to believe, but Akira's presence proves it is true. Akira asks how long he has been asleep, but Wiya cannot answer. He explains they are just peasants and have no access to historical records. One of the men at the table warns Wiya that keeping Akira's presence secret could be seen as handling a relic. Akira asks who they would report to, and the man replies, OWEL, the unified institution that governs the world. Akira then asks about countries, which confuses Wiya. Wiya explains that in ancient times the world was divided into countries, but OWEL dissolved them and replaced regional governments. Akira realizes that nations no longer exist, and that OWEL now holds greater power than any former country. Wiya adds that OWEL brought lasting peace and ended all wars. Akira is amazed by this. Edie curiously asks Akira's age. He replies that he is 18, but admits that, given how long he slept, he no longer knows his true age. Wiya's brother then insists they report Akira to the OWEL Bureau. Wiya tells him to calm down, saying Akira just woke up. His brother snaps back, accusing Wiya of keeping Akira for his own curiosity about the past. The other men agree, warning that the village could be in danger and reminding everyone what happens to those who hide relics. Wiya's wife suddenly stands up with firm resolve. She scolds them for acting like cowards, saying Akira is new to everything and needs time to adjust. She insists OWEL doesn't need to know yet. Edie proudly imitates her mother's brave stance. Their moment is interrupted by the baby's cries, and Wiya's wife goes to tend to the child. She tells Akira not to worry and focus on recovering. Akira feels grateful for her kindness. Later that night, while Edie sleeps, Akira lies awake. He steps out to the rooftop balcony, looking at the quiet night sky and the small settlement below. The warm air tells him it is summer. Everything feels unreal, as if he is still dreaming. Yet his mind keeps drifting back to Tawasa. Far away, a cloaked woman watches the settlement from the shadows. Meanwhile, a man rides a horse away from the village under the moonlight. The next morning, after washing his face, Akira steels himself to find clues about Tawasa. Edie greets him cheerfully and he asks her for a favor. She takes him to the village market, explaining that it is where people shop. Akira observes the stalls and notes the textile store, realizing the village resembles an 18th century countryside. He notices a stall exchanging currency with a balance scale, meaning someone guarantees the coin's value. He wonders if this system was created by OWEL, and realizes there is so much he must learn. He asks Edie if there is a library nearby. She doesn't understand the word, so he explains, "It is a place full of books." She brightens and says the school has many. At that moment, the cloaked person is seen nearby, buying a good luck charm while watching them. Edie takes Akira to the school. He searches through the books but finds no information about Tawasa or the past. He starts to suspect OWEL might be censoring information. He asks Edie how they can contact OWEL, but she reacts angrily. She says she hates them, calling them arrogant and violent. Akira listens quietly, realizing that OWEL might not be as peaceful as it seems. As they walk further through the village, Akira and Edie approach a house filled with cheerful voices. People are clapping and congratulating someone. Akira wonders if they are celebrating a festival, but Edie's eyes light up as she says she can't wait to find her own sea ailers. Akira notices that most of the people there are women, and it looks like a wedding ceremony. Curious, he asks Edie what's going on. She explains this event is called Ilsea, a ceremony where people who love each other make an oath and become sea ealers. She adds that it doesn't matter whether they are men or women. Seeing Akira's confusion, Edie decides to explain further. She says that in an Ilsea there can be many types of groups, a man and a woman, 2 men, 2 women, or even 3 people together. She points to a nearby group and says their Ilsea has 4 members. Akira realizes this is different from marriage. When Edie asks if marriage is another kind of Ilsea, Akira explains that marriage is usually between 2 people who promise to spend their lives together. Edie laughs, saying that in Ilsea a person can have more than one partner. Jokingly, Akira asks if it could go up to 100, and Edie bursts out laughing. She says her father once told her that if anyone tried that, OWEL would show up and scold them. Akira finally understands that an Ilsea is a group of people who decide to live their lives together. Edie proudly shares that in her home. Her father, her mother, and Papa Vogt are an Ilsea of 3. As she excitedly pulls Akira along to see more, he quietly thinks to himself how even the idea of marriage has changed in this world. Back in the year 2038, Akira is seen talking to a woman lying on a sofa. They discuss something called the LC Project. She asks what he thinks about it, and Akira says it's an interesting concept about upgrading humans, but wonders how she plans to fund it. As he gently removes her glasses, she replies she will figure it out somehow. A robotic voice then announces that the LC Project will play a key role in the foundation of Tawasa's android development. Tawasa explains that competition between rival companies and the fear humans hold toward the future, what she calls the collective consciousness, are both part of the challenge but also an opportunity. Akira smiles and gives her a small box. Inside is a beautiful ring. He calls her Big Sis Tawa, saying it's a birthday gift. Tawasa blushes and admires the ring, touched by his thoughtfulness, but still tells him to stop calling her that. Back in the present, Akira is still at the market with Edie when Tabarina, Wia's wife, arrives and asks for help. She explains that a tractor had fallen and broken during the previous day's earthquake. Akira examines it and manages to repair it, surprising everyone. The people are impressed by his skill, and he mentions he used to enjoy fixing machines as a child. Soon after, a tall man in a general's uniform appears with soldiers and Papa Vogt. The man observes the repaired tractor and praises the work. Papa Vogt points at Akira, introducing him to the man. Tabarina immediately realizes what is happening and angrily accuses Papa Vogt of betrayal, but he looks away, saying he had no choice. The man approaches Akira and remarks that the title Wise One suits him. When Akira looks at him, the man introduces himself as Percussus Canis, the OWEL Commissioner General of District H, 427 North, demanding to be addressed as Almighty Commissioner Canis. The soldiers detain Akira and lead him toward a mobile holding cell. Confused, Akira asks why he is being arrested. Canis states that Akira is an archaeological artifact found in ancient ruins and therefore not entitled to human rights. Akira is stunned, but before he can speak, Canis grabs him by the hair and says that Owell's control over information is absolute. Wia tries to step in, but Canis orders him to stand down. When Wia hesitates, Canis accuses him of treason for not reporting a relic and shoots him in the leg before he can explain. Tabarina rushes to Wia's side. Canis then orders that Edie be taken as well, saying he needs her as a witness since she discovered Akira. Tabarina protests fiercely, but Canis points his gun at her, threatening her. Papa Vogt rushes forward, saying he never agreed to the detention of Wia and Edie, but Canis coldly replies that he has just decided it. As Wea bleeds, he tries to explain that he intended to report everything once things settled down. Canis ignores him and presses an electric stun baton into Wea's gunshot wound, causing him to scream in pain. Later, Akira, Wea, and Edie are locked inside a holding cell attached to a moving train. Edie worries about her father, while Akira apologizes, blaming himself. Wea weakly tells him not to. The train eventually stops. Canis orders the soldiers to keep Akira locked up, but bring out Wea and Edie. He announces they will be disposed of and sends 3 of his men back to Hakodate to eliminate all the villagers to erase evidence of the relic's existence. Wea is dropped to the ground with weapons pointed at him, as Canis declares that everyone who knows about Akira must die. From inside the cell, Akira shouts in anger, calling Canis a monster. Canis responds that he plans to use Akira's ancient knowledge to advance his own power. He then points his gun at the terrified Edie, while Akira watches helplessly, his expression filled with hatred. Suddenly, a voice tells Akira to lower himself. A cloaked girl appears, slicing through the holding cell with swift, powerful strikes. She lands a kick that shatters the door and charges at Canis, kicking him hard into a nearby wall. Though injured, Canis stands and demands to know who she is and why she interfered. The woman comments that he is quite resilient. Akira thanks her for saving them and asks who she is. She remarks that Akira still acts like someone from CE Japan. She tells him she can help them escape if he agrees to listen to her. Canis orders his soldiers to open fire, but the woman remains calm and repeats her offer. Akira agrees, saying he needs her help. She acknowledges his request and tells them to find somewhere safe to hide, as Canis yells again for his troops to shoot. The soldiers fire at the girl, but a circular barrier protects her along with Wea and Edie. The bullets bounce back, striking the soldiers down. The lady draws her saber and swiftly cuts through the remaining enemies with cold precision. Akira and the others are shocked by her power, while Canis panics and tries to run away. The lady mocks Canis's organization, calling it worthless. Realizing she must be from an outside series, Canis kicks one of his men toward her and escapes into a building. An injured soldier tries to shoot her, but Akira quickly throws a stick that knocks the weapon away. Inside the building, Canis starts laughing madly as he fires a machine gun at the woman. She jumps back to avoid the bullets, then activates a lightning domain. Her legs transform into a tripod and her right arm shifts into an energy bazooka. She fires, completely erasing Canis and everything in her path in a massive explosion that shakes the area. Akira and the others hide for cover from the shockwave. Akira, stunned, mutters that she can't be human. The woman retracts her weapon and calmly replies that she is an android, introducing herself as Yugure. She reminds Akira of the favor she mentioned earlier, then removes her hood, revealing a face identical to Tawasa's. Akira is speechless, and Yugure simply says that she wants them to get married. Akira feels confused when the girl says she is Yugure and not Tawasa. He becomes awkward and tries to calm himself. Yugure plays a recording of Akira agreeing to her favor, revealing her request is to marry him. This shocks Akira, making him flustered and step back as she moves closer. Yugure takes out the ring Akira once gave Tawasa as a birthday gift, which he immediately recognizes. When he asks about Tawasa, Yugure only smirks and says it's classified, a gesture that reminds him of Tawasa's exact expression. Edie arrives to check on Akira, and Yugure turns her attention to healing Wea's wound, saying helping the injured is more important. Papa Vogt kneels and begs Akira and the others for forgiveness. Akira assures him he understands. Papa Vogt only wanted to protect the villagers and did what he thought was right. Akira says he is not angry. Tabarina asks what Akira plans to do next, and he decides to leave the village to avoid causing more trouble since Owell is after him. Yugure insists on going with him, saying he still owes her an answer about marriage. Akira refuses, saying no one would marry someone they just met. Yugure replies that since he needs to know her better first, she will stay by his side. At dawn, they walk together. Yugure asks where they are heading, and Akira says he wants to return to where he first woke up to look for clues. He asks her to tell him more about the present world since she is an android, but she says that's classified. When he asks her to talk about herself and why she wants to marry him, she replies such information is premium content and can only be paid for with marriage. When they reach the location, the place is too dark for Akira to see clearly, even with his lamp. Yugure mentions the earthquake a few days ago, likely damaged the power supply. Suddenly, she moves fast and hides them behind a huge machine, activating camouflage and warning him to stay quiet because there are others nearby. A woman appears, leaps high into the air, and uses her sword to create a cross-shaped slash that blasts open the ruins. Another woman, floating with a ring of light above her head, scans the area for Yugure and Akira. From their hiding spot, Akira realizes both women have the same face as Yugure and Tawasa. The sword-wielding woman attacks a hidden spot, revealing Edie hiding there. Akira is shocked to see her, but Yugure urges him to stay silent. The two women injure Edie. The one with the ring of light named Hakubo tells the other, Yoyami, not to be harsh. Yoyami snaps back, saying Edie's presence is suspicious. She demands to know if Edie knows who killed Canis. Edie nods but says she cannot reveal it because the killer saved her. Yoyami asks where they are, but Edie says she doesn't know. After getting no answers, Hakubo and Yoyami leave, disappointed. Akira rushes to Edie and asks why she is there. She shows him a smartwatch that belongs to him, saying she found it in the ruins and forgot to return it. Akira turns on the watch, hoping to find something useful, and discovers a farewell voice message from Tawasa. In the recording, Tawasa admits to making many mistakes and says she must live with her sins and what she has done. She expresses her love and gratitude to Akira and asks him not to search for her, urging him to cherish the life he still has. When the message ends, Yugure notes it was recorded 200 years ago. Although Akira knows much time has passed and Tawasa may no longer be alive, he decides to look for her anyway. Yugure asks if he has any clue where to start, and Akira says he will head to the Omagi house in Tokyo where he once lived. He asks if Yugure will come with him, and she agrees but teases him about still refusing to marry her. She jokes that there are many wedding venues in Tokyo. Later, while Edie is asleep, Akira asks Yugure about the two women they saw earlier. Yugure explains they are commanding officers in OL's special forces and that they are after her because OL has imposed digital restrictions. Akira asks if they are also androids and why she wants to marry him. Yugure moves closer and says it's simply because she wants to. Akira becomes flustered and says he already has a fiancé named Tawasa, but Yugure insists she won't give up. Since he is only engaged, she believes there is still a chance. Akira bluntly denies it, saying there's none at all. She pushes him down, teasing him and claiming she'll make him forget Tawasa, stopping only when he calls her by name. After they see Edie off, Akira says they will head to Honshu. At the port, a man informs them the boats are all out at sea and the ferry only runs once a week. Akira realizes this delays their plans. Soon they meet a man driving a tractor who offers them a ride on a small ship. He introduces himself as Oboro, a wholesaler, and they introduce themselves as well. When he asks why they are heading to Honshu, Akira says they are on an expedition to Tokyo, while Yugure playfully says they are on their honeymoon. Oboro suggests taking the train from Sendai, but Akira says it's far. Oboro then advises them to go toward Mount Osore and cross Mutsu Bridge to reach Aomori. Oboro drops them at the port and departs. As they walk, Akira comments that the area doesn't feel very Japanese. He then bumps into a girl who appears from around a corner, accidentally breaking her brush. He offers to buy her a new one. The girl introduces herself as Amoru. When Yugure tries to ask about a book Amoru is holding, Amoru quickly grabs it back, saying it's special to her. At a small store, Akira buys a new brush and some bread using the travel money Wia gave him. The storekeeper accidentally gives him too much change, and the store's boss arrives, scolding the man harshly and calling him a Lagosian. Akira wants to say something, but Yugure steps in, saying they will just leave the change behind and go, calling Amoru to come along. Later, Akira asks what a Lagosian is. Yugure explains that Lagosians are people who voluntarily give up their human rights to be forgiven for a crime or debt. Under OL's control, they are forced to work various labor jobs but are provided basic necessities so they don't die. Akira looks troubled, and Yugure calls him soft-hearted, warning that helping might bring OWEL's attention. Akira gives Amoru the new brush, which she happily accepts. She asks why they came to Oma, and Akira says they are on their first expedition to Tokyo through Mount Osore. Amoru warns them that OWEL has a checkpoint on the main road. Surprised, Akira listens as she offers to guide them through another route with no checkpoint. They agree to follow her lead. As they walk along the path, Amoru sketches a portrait of Yugure while they travel. Akira notices and comments on it, and Amoru says it becomes easy with practice. Akira asks if she wants to become an artist, and Amoru replies she wants to draw storybooks. Akira happily encourages her and says he hopes to read one of her books someday. Amoru seems surprised and quickens her pace ahead. Yugure quietly notices a strange stamp on Amoru's back. That night, the group sets up camp around a bonfire. Akira mentions how they didn't go hungry thanks to Yugure, who easily caught a rabbit for dinner. Curious, Akira asks if she gets energy from food. Yugure explains she draws energy from the core in her chest and that eating is just a hobby. When Akira tries to touch the core out of curiosity, Yugure warns him about the consequences, making him back away quickly. Yugure then asks Amoru if she can see the book she carried earlier. Amoru becomes defensive, clutching her bag tightly. Yugure guesses it might be a banned book but promises not to take it. Amoru finally brings it out and explains her parents wrote it. Yugure and Akira admire the bird illustrations, saying they're beautiful. Akira encourages Amoru to follow her parents' path and her dreams, which makes her smile. The next day, they arrive at Mount Osore, where OWEL officers guard the entrance. Yugure assures Akira they haven't recognized her yet and tells them to act naturally. They pass through without issue. As they walk, Yugure mentions her experiences over the past 150 years, leading Akira to ask her age. Instead of answering, she jokingly tells Amoru it's rude to ask a lady her age, but then stops halfway. She changes the topic, explaining Mount Osore is known for its flavorful food. Akira and Amoru watch as Yugure finishes a skewer of meat in one bite. Akira feels frustrated by how poorly the Lagosians around them are treated, but Yugure warns him not to get involved. When Akira looks back at his own plate, it's empty. Yugure has eaten his portion too. As Akira goes to buy more food, two soldiers confront him at gunpoint, demanding that Yugure surrender or the relic will be destroyed. Yugure and Amoru raise their hands in compliance. A tall man with long red hair appears, calling himself the Magnificent Marlem. Akira feels an odd sense of déjà vu. Marlem proudly says he received a message from his cousin, Kanise, about the ancient relic, and that Yugure's resemblance to Yoyami and Hakubo confirmed everything. Suddenly, Amoru runs up to Marlem, and he pats her head, calling her, No, 1221. Akira and Yugure realize too late that Amoru was working for him all along. Amoru admits she lied to them in exchange for the promise that OWEL would return her parents' books. Amoru demands the storybook as her reward, but Marlem gives a cold, cruel smile and tells her all the books have already been burned. He pushes her aside without mercy and orders the soldiers to handle her the same way they did to her parents. Then he commands them to capture Yugure. While Marlem begins celebrating the promotion he believes he has earned, Akira quietly turns to Yugure and asks if she can save them. She replies in a calm, emotionless tone that she can only ensure his safety. Suddenly, Amoru refuses to give up. She lashes out, striking one of the soldiers and even managing to land a hit on Marlem himself. Her courage catches everyone off guard. She shouts for Yugure and Akira to run away before the soldiers can recover. Taking the chance, Yugure moves swiftly, taking down the soldiers one by one with precise efficiency. She grabs Akira's hand and pulls him away as they escape through the chaos. Behind them, Marlem regains his composure, furious at being defied. He kicks Amoru violently to the ground and notices something that fell from her bag, the only storybook she had left. He picks it up with a smirk, realizing what it is. Far from the scene, Yugure and Akira take refuge in a quiet, hidden area. The night is tense and their breaths are heavy from running. Akira looks back toward where they came from, his heart uneasy. He says he wants to return and rescue Amoru, but Yugure blocks his path. She reminds him that Amoru lied to them and used them for her own gain. Akira, however, refuses to accept that explanation. He insists Amoru was being manipulated and never truly meant harm. He admits that if he goes back alone, he will be caught, and asks Yugure to come with him. Yugure shakes her head, saying it goes against her operating principles, rules she must always follow. Akira looks straight at her and says Amoru means more to him than those rules. When Yugure questions why he would care so deeply for someone who betrayed him, he says it isn't about love or duty. He just feels sorry for her and wants to help her chase the dream she once spoke about. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Amoru is restrained by Marlem's soldiers. Marlem stands before her holding her beloved storybook. He taunts her as he sets it on fire, watching the flames consume it. Amoru screams in despair as the fire burns away her last hope. The rain begins to fall, washing over the scene, blurring her tears with the cold drops from the sky. Yugure turns to Akira and asks if he would agree to marry her if she saves Amoru's life. Her words sound more like a logical transaction than an emotional plea. Akira looks at her with a tired expression and says she truly behaves like an android, someone who cannot understand human feelings. Without another word, Yugure releases her hold on him. Akira immediately runs off toward the danger, determined to save Amoru no matter the risk. Yugure remains behind, standing motionless in the rain. Amoru is chained down in a room alone, scared, calling out for her mother and father. Akira struggles to enter the room, and when he finally gets inside, he is shocked to see Amoru chained there. Amoru is also surprised Akira came. She doesn't want him to risk his life for her, and while they try to escape, she admits she lied to him and Yugure. Despite this, Akira shows he doesn't care about the lie, which shocks her. As they talk, two guards spot them and raise the alarm. Akira and Amoru start running. Akira does everything to get her out safely, even throwing his knife at one guard to buy time. All the while, Yugure watches them from afar without their knowledge. When they reach outside, the man is already waiting. He laughs hysterically, calling them fools as if he predicted their escape attempt. Before Akira realizes it, guards capture Amoru from behind. As Akira tries to save her, he is struck down, but still manages to fight back against one guard before being handcuffed. Instead of going to help Amoru, Akira attacks the man. Offended that a commoner dares strike him, the man orders his guards to capture Akira again. While they hold him down, the man beats Akira. Amoru cannot bear watching Akira being tortured because of her, and begs them to release him, offering herself in his place. Akira cuts Amoru short and tells her to keep quiet. He reminds her never to give up on finding her parents' storybook, knowing it is her dream. Amoru is shocked because she never expects Akira to say something like that. Akira understands her goal is to become an artist who draws storybooks, and he wants to help her make that dream come true. The man becomes angry and orders one of his guards to point a gun at Amoru, ready to shoot. Akira cannot do anything except shout for them not to harm her. At this moment, Yugure can no longer bear watching Akira and Amoru being mistreated. She rushes to the scene to teach the men a lesson. When she arrives, she kicks away the guards holding Akira and Amoru, leaving only the man standing. Instead of escaping, the man commands his guards to attack Yugure. Before they can even reach her, she strikes them all down. The guards cannot withstand her power and run away in fear. Shocked by their retreat, the man pulls out his gun and fires at them, but Yugure blocks the bullets to protect Akira and Amoru. The man never expects this. Before he can flee, Yugure kicks him so hard that he falls into a pit and becomes stuck, crying for help. Throughout the fight, Amoru is amazed by Yugure's android abilities. After the battle ends, Akira bows before Yugure and thanks her for saving them, even though it goes against her rules. Yugure explains that saving Amoru aligns with her objective, so she had to act. Akira remains deeply grateful. The next day, Yugure gives Amoru some items she obtained from the Administration Bureau, clothes and books for drawing. Akira excuses Amoru so she can change her outfit. While helping her, Yugure removes the scars on Amoru's back. Amoru is thankful and asks Yugure to erase the scan code on her lower body. Yugure warns it will hurt, but Amoru insists and Yugure proceeds, covering the spot with a design. Akira is amazed by Yugure's skills and asks about the type of ability she uses, which Yugure explains to him. Amoru, filled with excitement, cannot even finish dressing before expressing her eagerness to start drawing storybooks with them. To her surprise, Yugure agrees to have her join them, and Akira supports the idea, promising to go wherever she wishes. He tells her to finish dressing so they can set off. They soon begin their journey to Amoru's hometown. When they arrive, they hear someone announcing a single room available for rent. Akira hopes to rent it so he can finally take a bath after so long. But before they can act, Amoru notices guards standing near a building corner. Looking around, she realizes it is the Fika season, a time for matchmaking festivals. She tries to explain they don't need the festival since they are already partners. But at the mention of this, Yugure becomes jealous and quickly makes it clear to Amoru that she is Akira's partner, claiming they are lovers. However, Amoru refuses to accept that. Seeing it might lead to an argument, Akira tries to remind them he is actually on this journey, searching for a woman named Tawasa, whom he loves deeply, and to whom he has already pledged his life. Despite this, Amoru feels they can all still be together, even after finding the woman. At this point, Yugure decides to try something different. She knows she is in love with Akira, but she wants to attend the festival to see if she can be matched with another person. If she doesn't fall in love with anyone else, then she will know her love for Akira is genuine. Although Akira doesn't want to support going to the festival, before he realizes it, Amoru already agrees with the plan, leaving him with no say in the matter. At night, Calcrom, the aspiring boss of the Lontano family, is seen talking with Lieutenant Colonel Yamabuki, who comes to deliver cash to him. Calcrom shows him some weapons they have in stock. As Yamabuki examines the weapons, he begins to wonder if Calcrom is really stockpiling them for defense, or preparing to start a war. They are still in the middle of their discussion when several men suddenly burst in. The guards try to stop them, recognizing them as Fides men, but the intruders quickly explain that Lady Fides is approaching. The guards calm down immediately, and Lieutenant Yamabuki is left shocked by the unexpected arrival. After Lady Fides enters, she apologizes for the intrusion her men caused, and introduces herself as the Lontano family's eldest daughter. She explains she rushed there because she heard their guests were in danger. When the lieutenant hears this, he becomes shocked and nervous, not understanding what is happening. Fides explains that one of Calcrom's underlings is a spy, and she says it is her responsibility to handle him since she is going to be the next boss of the Lontano family. The man is then identified and handcuffed. As the accused man hears what Fides says, he becomes furious and talks back, declaring they only recognize Calcrom as their next boss, not her. Angry that Fides is speaking against Kalkram, he struggles to break free from the guards and tries to attack her. But before he can reach her, Kalkram unexpectedly shoots him to stop any further chaos. Seeing what happens, Fides decides to take her leave and instructs the head of her guards to handle the rest of the situation. Some guests then start asking each other about the relationship between Fides and Kalkram. One of them explains they are actually half-siblings. Their father had about 10 children, but 8 died in a blood feud, leaving only Fides and Kalkram alive. The acting boss originally planned to have many heirs, but with only 2 surviving children, everyone is now anxious since no one knows who will become the next boss. The next morning, the acting boss of the Lontano family calls Fides and Kalkram and tells them he doesn't care who wins. He only wants someone reliable. Because of this, he expects both of them to participate in the Fika festival and find their respective partners to prove their seriousness. Fides immediately promises her father she will find a partner at the festival, but Kalkram feels she is overdoing it. Meanwhile, Amoru and Yugure prepare for the festival that evening. However, Akira tells them he is not interested in going, so Amoru and Yugure leave for the festival without him. While Akira steps outside to clear his mind, he overhears a group of men talking excitedly about 2 people named Fides and Kalkram coming to the festival. He becomes curious about who they are. A woman in a nearby shop notices his interest and explains that Fides and Kalkram are the heirs to the Lontano family's throne, the most powerful family in their town. They are said to control the entire region. Akira feels surprised and slightly uneasy after hearing this, realizing how important these 2 people are. Not long after, Amoru and Yugure arrive at the festival. Amoru quickly joins a group of her old friends from the town, greeting them warmly and explaining why she came to the festival, even though she was the one who suggested the idea. Yugure, on the other hand, blends easily with the crowd, chatting freely with other people and enjoying the lively atmosphere. Meanwhile, after hearing about Fides and Kalkram, Akira decides to go to the festival too. He dresses up and arrives quietly, hiding behind a flower tree so no one notices him. His main concern is to make sure both Amoru and Yugure are safe, even if it means staying out of sight. At the festival, Fides becomes the center of attention. Many men line up in front of her, hoping she will choose one of them as her partner. However, none of them meet her expectations. She finds them unworthy of her standards and feels frustrated. Angry and disappointed, she walks away, wishing she could meet someone of higher value who would truly match her level. As evening falls and the lights of the festival begin to glow, Amoru notices Akira hiding nearby. She feels relieved and happy to see him, thinking he might have come because he was worried about her. Akira admits her safety is part of the reason he came, though not the only one. Later in the night, while Akira walks past Fides, who is holding a glass of wine, he accidentally bumps into her. The glass tilts and some wine spills onto her clothes. Akira quickly apologizes, worried and trying to find something to help her clean the stain. When he looks closer and sees her name tag, he suddenly realizes the woman he bumped into is none other than Fides herself. Shocked, he panics and tries to run away to avoid trouble. Before he can escape, Fides catches his hand and stops him. She seems intrigued by his manner of speech and his calm presence. Instead of getting angry, she insists they talk privately and pulls him aside. While they're speaking, Amoru spots them together and quickly comes over. She nervously apologizes to Fides on Akira's behalf, saying Akira acts that way because he is actually a relic from ancient times. Akira is stunned by her words, as he didn't expect her to reveal something like that. Fides becomes even more curious. The thought of someone from 200 years ago still being alive fascinates her. Akira then explains everything, how it is possible because of a scientific process known as suspended animation, which keeps the body preserved for long periods. He tells her he only woke up recently after an earthquake damaged the device that had kept him asleep. As Fides listens, she notices the honesty in Akira's words and realizes he is not lying. Feeling impressed and intrigued, she asks him to consider matchmaking with her, saying she believes the rumors about people like him might actually be true. Amoru feels uneasy about the suggestion, but Fides continues confidently. She offers Akira a deal, promising to protect him from OWEL, knowing he is being pursued by them. Akira is taken aback, surprised that someone of her status would propose such a thing to him. While they are still talking, Fides points to a man nearby and introduces him as her half-brother Kalkram, explaining they have long been rivals in the struggle to become the next head of their family. But before Akira can fully process this, something unexpected happens. Kalkram suddenly kneels down before Yugure, asking her to matchmake with him in front of everyone. Amoru is shocked and cannot believe what she is seeing, wondering how everything has turned into such confusion. Even Fides is caught off guard, not expecting her half-brother to fall in love with someone so suddenly. The following day, Lord Lontano summons Kalkrom to his office for a meeting after hearing reports that his son had secured a partner at the Fika festival. He expresses his eagerness for Kalkrom to complete the Ilsi ceremony so that he might finally receive a grandchild. But Kalkrom insists the timing remains premature for such considerations. Meanwhile, Fies tends to the horses in the castle stables. She confides in her favorite horse about the rumors circulating regarding Kalkrom's partner, as she has no one else with whom to share her thoughts. Her bodyguard enters to inform her of the news spreading throughout the castle, but she reproaches him for interrupting her private moments with the horse. She assures him there is no need for concern regarding the rumors, as she has secured a partner of her own. At the inn, Akira attempts to dissuade Yugure from attending a date with Kalkrom. He expresses his concern about the man's dangerous nature and his reluctance to see her become entangled in mafia affairs. Amoru also voices her surprise at Yugure's acceptance, noting that she had expressed disinterest the previous day. Yugure clarifies that she only accepted the invitation to demonstrate to Akira that she cannot develop feelings for anyone except him. However, she begins to question whether this explanation holds true, as Kalkrom's advances appear to be affecting her. Kalkrom arrives unexpectedly and presents Yugure with a bouquet of flowers. He explains that his eagerness to see her compelled him to arrive early. Yugure examines the flowers and recognizes they symbolize true love. Kalkrom expresses his admiration for her knowledge, noting he expected nothing less from an android. This revelation causes Akira considerable tension, as he fears for Yugure's safety. However, Yugure clarifies that Kalkrom is already aware of her identity and accepts her regardless. Akira remains skeptical and questions Kalkrom about his genuine intentions. Kalkrom teases him about jealousy and inquires whether he harbors romantic feelings for Yugure. Yugure reveals that Akira is her fiancé. Kalkrom responds with such a mischievous smile that Akira cannot help but recognize his familial connection to Fides. As though summoned by this thought, Fides calls out to Akira and announces she has arrived to collect him for their date. Akira expresses confusion and Fides reminds him that he is her Aelsia partner. Amoru and Yugure immediately surround Akira and forbid him from departing alone with Fides. They interrogate him and demand a full account of what transpired between him and Fides the previous evening. Akira explains that he was involved in a minor accident with her and never believed she was serious when she claimed him as her partner. Kalkrom addresses Fides and expresses relief that she has found a partner, as he was growing concerned she would never settle down. He proposes a double date arrangement that would allow them to observe each other's partners and determine who has made the superior match. He leads them to his vehicle and they express astonishment at its exceptional quality. Kalkrom reveals he acquired it from Tokyo, which immediately captures Akira's interest. Akira requests information, but Kalkrom declines to share anything without compensation. However, he encourages Akira not to abandon hope, as he might divulge information when intoxicated. The group enters the vehicle and Kalkrom drives them to the shopping district. Amoru runs off to explore, but Akira cautions her against wandering too far. Kalkrom escorts Yugure to a jewelry stall where she examines the inventory. He offers to purchase the finest jewelry featuring the most beautiful gem, and she accepts his offer. Kalkrom notices Akira observing them with evident jealousy and turns to give him a triumphant look. Fides approaches Akira from behind and questions his priorities, noting he appears distracted. Akira dismisses her concern as she deposits additional shopping items in his arms. She orders him to keep pace as they have numerous other shops to visit. Akira is surprised that this constitutes her conception of a date. He now understands why she has remained single for such an extended period, that she has grown desperate enough to settle for someone like him. Amaru approaches and suggests he should not have come, as he is being treated as a porter. Akira insists he had to attend because Kalkrom possesses information about Tokyo. He also points out that he cannot permit Yugure to accompany Kalkrom alone, as he does not trust him. Furthermore, he feels disappointed that he cannot facilitate a romantic connection between Fides and Kalkrom, as he recognizes that is what they both genuinely desire. Fides calls out to him and he rushes over to meet her. Kalkrom notices that Yugure is distracted by Akira, but he assures her that their date will take her mind off him. She directs him to an alley so they can speak in secret. She scolds him for turning their date into a double date, but Kalkrom explains that he is just going along with her plan to make Akira jealous. However, he never predicted that Fides would propose to him. Yugure points out that Fides is currently her worst enemy and she won't pardon her, even if she is his sister. Kalkrom points out that it won't be necessary because his plan seems to be working. Yugure admits that it is, as she recalls her encounter with him the previous night when she was wasted. She told him everything about her and how she wants to prove to Akira that her love for him was genuine, so he agreed to help her because he could relate to her situation. Yugure points out that he is doing so much to help her, which makes her suspicious because she thinks he has an ulterior motive. Kalkrom reveals that he is only curious about how their relationship will turn out, because a relationship between an android and a human isn't realistic. He just wants to observe their relationship and see if love truly conquers all. Meanwhile, Akira notices Amaru observing a set of color paints, so he decides to get them for her, but Fides scolds him for not getting her anything. Yugure walks out of the alley with Kalkrom and calls out to Akira, but he doesn't hear her. She walks up to him and considers telling him everything, but she decides against it. Akira doesn't understand why she's giving him an attitude, but he waves it off because he has a nice spot to continue their double date. He orders Kalkrom to take them to the library and he obliges. They arrive at the library and begin to explore. Kalkrom admits that Akira is cultured because he chose to read while on a date. Amoru is curious if the library has any of her parents' old drawings. She thanks Akira for the opportunity to check for them, but Akira points out that he did it because he has to do some research. He picks up some law books to check if they contain any useful information, but Fides informs him that those kinds of books are useless because Owelt dictates their content. After exploring the library for a while, they all walk out without gaining any new information about their research. Amoru spots some traders in the alley and she gets a hunch that they may have her parents' storybooks, so she decides to check them out. She runs off, leaving the other at the steps of the library. They try to follow her, but she gets lost in the alley. They begin looking for her, but Fides is pissed that she has to look for a stubborn child. She suddenly realizes that she has gotten lost, and she suddenly becomes nostalgic because it brings back memories of her childhood. Back then, they always used to play hide and seek in the alley, but they always got caught because Kalkrom always made noise while hiding. Fides scolded him, but she promised to keep him safe when she became the boss. Kalkrom calls out to her, and she snaps out of reliving her memories. She tries to hide her nostalgia, but Kalkrom reminds her about the time they used to play hide and seek in the alley as kids. Close by, Akira tries to find everybody else because he is now alone. He peeks around a corner and spots Fides and Kalkrom having a moment, so he decides to stay back. Yugure and Amoru calls out to him from behind, and he shushes them so they don't interrupt the siblings' moment. Fides wonders why Kalkrom is suddenly reminiscing about the past, and Kalkrom points out that it is nice to relive memories once in a while. Fides reminds him that they are supposed to be more concerned about their future. Kalkrom decides to be more direct. He picks up a sheet and wraps Fides with it, pointing out that she was very good at hide and seek. Fides feels a spark, but she hides her feelings. She walks away as she claims that she doesn't remember anything like that. Akira observes Fides as she walks past, and he feels bad that their blood relation is preventing them from experiencing true love. He turns to Yugure because he is now certain that Kalkrom truly loves Fides. He scolds her for wearing the necklace Kalkrom got her, but she mocks him for being jealous. Akira points out that he only made that suggestion because of what he just observed between the siblings. Yugure doesn't understand what he is talking about, and Akira can't find the words to explain since she fails to figure out that he isn't jealous. Yugure reminds him that she agreed to go out with Kalkrom as a test to make her understand what true love feels like. She demands to know why he agreed to go on a date with Fides. Amoru joins Yugure and they press Akira for answers. Akira defends himself and maintains that he is only loyal to Tawasa because he is already engaged to her. He wonders where Yugure's loyalties lie, and she reveals that she could settle for Kalkrom if things go according to plan, which shocks both of them. The ride back is tense and silent. Kalkrom and Fides keep staring at each other out of the corner of their eyes, but they suddenly run a flat tire. Everyone gets out and Akira changes the flat tire. Kalkrom is impressed that he can do that by himself, and Akira points out that his foster dad taught him how to do it. Kalkrom reveals that the only thing he was taught while he was growing up was to dedicate his entire life to his family, which is why Ailsie is so important to them. Akira wonders if his feelings for Yugure are genuine. Kalkrom admits that he finds her fascinating, but he wonders why Akira is asking. Akira points out that he only asked because they are travel companions. He wonders about Kalkrom's feelings towards Fides, but Kalkrom throws the question back to him. Akira refuses to answer because his feelings are irrelevant. Kalkrom reveals that he will bless the union of whoever Fides chooses as her partner, but he promises to kill anyone who breaks her heart. Akira accuses Kalkrom of being love-struck by Fides, but Kalkrom avoids the accusation and suggests he open a garage because of his tire-changing prowess. Meanwhile, Yugure expresses her frustration at how difficult finding true love is. Fides wonders what she is talking about, and Amoru explains, Yugure has been unfortunate in her quest for true love. Fides points out that true love is nothing but made-up nonsense to make people feel wanted. Their conversation gets interrupted by a container being dislodged and threatening to kill a worker. Yugure rushes to his rescue, but a secret agent spots her and recognizes her as a fugitive. Fides figures out that Yugure is an android from her swift movement. She wonders what game Kalkrom is playing because he can't take her as his partner, since androids can't have children. Kalkrom and Akira come running to the scene to make sure she is alright, but she directs them to the source of the commotion. She walks away and Akira advises Kalkrom to go after her, but he reveals that that's his job now because she chose him as her partner. As Fides runs off, she recalls the rest of her earlier memories. After she promised to become the boss and protect Kalkrom, he pointed out that he overheard her crying to their older sibling for help because she didn't want to become the boss of the family. She scolded him for spying on her, but he explained that he only did it because he wanted to become the boss and change the family so she wouldn't have to cry anymore. Akira walks in on Fides and she admits that Kalkrom will make a better boss than her because his heart is big enough to accommodate everyone he meets. She reveals that he has been secretly taking care of their other siblings, who were disowned because they were considered unfit to rule their family. However, Fides insists that she must become the boss because a job like will only serve as punishment for an innocent soul like Kalkrom. Back at the Lontano mansion, the agent informs Lord Lontano that Kalkrom's partner is an android and confirms that the information he obtained from OL is accurate. He decides to capture her for his use before OWEL can get their hands on her. Later that evening, everyone sits for dinner at the Lontano family restaurant. Kalkrom asks Yugure to become his partner, and Fides gets up to walk away, but she stops in her tracks when Yugure refuses. Yugure explains that her perception of love was wrong and advises Kalkrom to prove his feelings of true love to the person it is meant for. Akira uses this opportunity to advise the siblings to try to work things out by having a heartfelt conversation. Lord Lontano walks in and reveals that he has always known both of them had chemistry since they were kids. He accuses Kalkrom of planning to remain childless and opting to murder him in his sleep so he can take control of the family. Kalkrom denies the allegation, but Lord Lontano points to Yugure and the black market weapons he has been buying from OL as evidence. Kalkrom insists that he is mistaken because the weapons in Yugure were just a precaution he was taking to protect the family. Lord Lontano doesn't buy his story. He roses Fides a gun and orders her to dispose of her treacherous brother. He promises to make her the next boss if she obeys. Kalkrom urges her to do it so both of them don't get taken down, but Akira stops her. Kalkrom takes the gun from her and points it at Lord Lontano, who scolds Fides for betraying her family, just like her brother. Kalkrom points out that there's no family left because he has exiled all his children. He guns down one of Lord Lontano's bodyguards, and Lord Lontano orders the others to capture Yugure at all costs. Yugure gets up and scolds them for ruining her fun, but she is so tipsy that she can barely stand. Lord Lontano orders his men to restrain her while she is too drunk to do anything, but Yugure releases all the toxins that built up in her body from drinking. She dares the first person who is brave enough to approach her. Akira spots a sniper aiming at her, and he realizes she is not aware of his presence. He rushes over to push her out of the way, but he ends up taking the bullet for her. Kalkrom takes out the sniper while Yugure checks on Akira because he is losing consciousness. She scolds him for taking a bullet for her, even though she is an android, but Akira is just relieved that she wasn't hurt. She heals his injury with her regenerative powers and warns him never to do something like that again because she could never allow such low-budget military wannabes to get the better of her. She orders Amuro to watch over Akira while she locks Lontano's men in her sights. She asks Kalkrom to give her a few seconds to take care of them, but Akira calls out to her weakly and begs her not to kill them because they are just minions following Lontano's orders. Amuro also begs Yugure not to kill them, and she can't believe Akira wants her to show them mercy after nearly losing his life. She decides to oblige his request. She asks Kalkrom to step back so she doesn't hurt him, and approaches Lontano. Kalkrom warns her to be careful because Lontano rose to the top of the family by taking out whoever stood in his way. Yugure acknowledges this as she faces off against Lontano. She takes out laser shooters from her bag and throws them at his soldiers. The lasers fire at the soldiers to subdue them. Lontano dodges the lasers and immediately goes for Yugure. He attacks her with his sword, and Yugure dodges it easily, but she is impressed that he dodged the lasers despite his old age. Lontano insists he will make her obey him, but Yugure points out that she doesn't have any reason to take orders from a man who hurt the people she cares about. Lontano keeps attacking her with his sword, but she dodges every strike effortlessly, and explains that her friends will never forgive her if she chooses to switch allegiances. She catches his sword and breaks it like it's a splint of wood. She kicks him in the face and sends him flying to Kolkram's feet with another kick. Yugure decides to leave his fate to the siblings and returns to Akira's side to check on him. Akira wakes up on a bed to find Yugure exploring his lower half under the sheets. He calls out to her, and she explains that she was fitting him with a couple's anklet as a good luck charm. Akira notices he has a scar on his shoulder, but he doesn't feel any pain from it. He asks Yugure how long he was out. Amaru walks into the room and realizes that Akira is awake. She runs over to hug him and expresses her relief to see him awake because he was unconscious for a week. Kalkram and Fides walk into the room after overhearing that Akira is awake, and they ask him how he is feeling. Akira informs them that he feels good because his shoulder doesn't hurt. Amoru secretly reveals that his shoulder isn't hurting because Yugure took care of him while he was unconscious. Akira turns to Yugure and thanks her, and she blushes. She waves off his thanks because she is the one who should be thanking him for taking a bullet for her. Kalkram and Fides walk up to his bedside, and they notice that he looks healthier compared to the last time they checked up on him. Kalkram tosses him an apple and apologizes for dragging him into his family's mess. But Akira is curious about what happened after he passed out. Fides reveals that Lontano was forced to willingly retire and evacuate the seat as the family boss after suffering a humiliating defeat in front of everyone. Fides reveals that she has decided to become the new boss while Kalkram acts as her assistant. They thank him for changing their family and making them happy. Later that evening, everyone gathers in the study for a conversation about their next steps, while Amoru is scanning the shelves for storybooks. Kalkram asks Akira if he is really heading to Sendai, and Akira confirms that he is. Fides suggests he visit the resort and get a dip in the hot springs if he is not in a hurry. Yugure and Amoru suddenly perk up at the mention of a hot spring. Akira thinks about it, but he isn't eager to take a detour because he needs to reach Tokyo as soon as possible. Yugure and Amoru give him pleading cat eyes, and he caves instantly and agrees to take the detour. Akira decides to check the shelves for any book that may contain some useful information. Kalkram walks over to Yugure and thanks her for allowing Fides to be herself. He asks if she has found her true love, and she admits that she is still not sure. Kalkram assures her not to worry about it because her true love will make itself known to her eventually. The next day, Oboro gives them a ride to their destination, but Akira keeps giving him glances because he doesn't trust him. He asks him why he chose to be a chauffeur, and Oboro admits that his last gig wasn't profitable, so he decided to change his career. He commends Akira for having cute girls with him this time, unlike the last time they saw each other. He is certain they will have a wonderful Elsea, but Yugure reveals that they are getting married, not having an Elsea. He drops them off at the resort, and Amoru hands him a portrait of his face to thank him for the free ride. He gladly accepts it and acknowledges that she will become a great storybook artist someday. He drives off, and Akira wonders how he knows about Amoru's past. As they enter the resort, they stumble on a group of people quarreling. A guest tries to intervene, but the ladies warn him to stay out of it. Akira decides to step in, but his intervention coincides with one of the ladies throwing a punch. The other lady gets out of the way, and Akira ends up getting knocked out. Akira wakes up some minutes later, and the lady apologizes for knocking him out. The guest also apologizes for his misfortune, but Akira blames him because he assumes he is the cause of the lovers' quarrel. The guest clarifies that he is just a guest who got caught up in the ladies' quarrel. The lady backs him up, and Akira apologizes for wrongly accusing him. The man waves off his apology and introduces himself as Yokurata. The lady introduces herself as Ajisai, the resort's proprietress, and she apologizes again for knocking him out. Akira points out that it was his fault for meddling in affairs that don't concern him, but he wonders how the quarrel started. Ajisai explains that Hanayama is her sea ailer who was formerly a commissioner at OWEL. During that time, she was always busy, but when they got together, she promised she would quit her job at OWEL and help her run the inn. However, she has always refused to honor her promise every time Ajisai reminds her of it. Ajisai complains that she is always away on business and she hardly comes home. She points out that she even forgot about their tradition of having an anniversary date multiple times. She suddenly realizes that she is saying too much and getting emotional, so she decides to stop burdening them with her personal problems. Yokurata points out that the matter was resolved thanks to Akira's face. Ajisai decides to offer Akira a free room as a token of her apology. She gives them the highest room in the resort with a scenic view of the valley. She reveals that the room is the pride of the resort, and everyone who stays there always falls in love with the scenery. She informs them that the resort has mixed baths, and Amoru is eager to check it out since they can all bathe together. Akira refuses to bathe with them, but Ajisai also informs them that the bath has a matchmaking effect. which makes their guests end up in relationships after having a dip together. Amoru thinks the bath is a magical place, but Akira doesn't buy into that fantasy because it is not logical. Yugure shuts him up because he is ruining the moment. Ajisai wonders if the three of them are ALC-ed. Akira informs her that they aren't and they never will be, but Amoru insists that they should, while Yugure points out that they are getting married. Akira shuts both of them down and insists that there will be no mixed bathing, LCing, and marriage under his watch. Amoru decides to hop into the bath with Yugure since Akira is proving to be stubborn. They get into the bath, and Amoru reveals that she is pissed off by Akira's attitude. She notices that Yugure is in a strange mood, so she confronts her about it. But Yugure insists that she is fine because her readings are within their normal ranges. Amoru decides to check on her anyway because she also noticed that she has been mumbling a lot around Akira. Yugure decides to come out with the truth and admits that she always feels a tightness in her chest whenever she looks at Akira. Amoru points out that something like that only happens when someone is in love. She explains that she read in a book that a person's heart begins to race whenever they think of someone special to them. Amoru wonders why Yugure never told Akira that she loves him since she has feelings for him. Yugure points out that she always does, but she suddenly realizes that she has been doing it all wrong. Amoru admits that she loves both of them so much and wants them to LC so they can remain together for life. Sometime later, Akira observes a map on the wall, hoping to get some information about Tokyo, but he is disappointed because it only shows the layout of Tohoku. Akira is frustrated because he is barely getting any answers to the questions that have been swirling in his head since he woke up. Yugure walks in behind her, but he doesn't notice her. She takes a few moments to steel her nerves and asks him if anything is bothering him. Akira points out that he can't even talk to her about anything because she will only tell him the information is classified. Yugure clarifies that she doesn't throw the word around for the fun of it, but she has to say it because that is what she is programmed to do. Akira already figured out that there is a reason behind it, but he decides to try questioning her again. He asks her what happened to the world while he was asleep, but she replies that it is classified. He asks her the purpose of her creation, but she also replies that it is classified. He asks her if Tawasa is still out there, but Yugure barely lets him finish the sentence before replying that it is classified. Yokurata overhears his question and wonders if he heard him correctly, asking about Tawasa's whereabouts. Akira immediately asks if he knows Tawasa, and Yokurata admits that he does. He makes reservations with the ladies in his arms for a later time so he can discuss with Akira without distractions. He reveals that he used to work at OWEL, and that was where he first met Tawasa. Yugure glances at him suspiciously and Yokurata notices. He asks her to stop giving him the stink eye because he is no longer associated with OWEL since he chose the life of a harmless academic. He also clarifies that he doesn't tip them off about androids and their activities anymore, so she doesn't have to be tense around him. Akira is surprised that Yokurata knows about Yugure's identity, and he is convinced he has a lot of information at his disposal. He asks him to spill what he knows about Tawasa, but Yokurata asks for Yugure's permission to give out classified information before he obliges Akira's request. Yugure reveals that she won't interfere as long as Akira gets his information from other sources. Yokurata takes out a map and places it on a table between him and Akira. He informs him that a war broke out between mankind and AI in 2052, which resulted in billions of casualties and changed the map of the world. Akira admits that he suspected something huge had gone down, but he never expected it to be as bad as that. Yokurata reveals that Tawasa was the one who put an end to the war, and Akira wonders why nobody knows about what happened in the war and how Tawasa saved mankind. Yokurata explains that OWEL restricted historical knowledge and digital processing of databases because they are desperate to prevent a repeat of the past. He further explains that the people who are currently alive don't know that their present world is built upon the sacrifices of countless lives and resources. Akira wonders how Tawasa put an end to the war, and Yokurata explains that she weaponized androids called Outside Series, which she created herself, to fight off the AI invasion. Yokurata's ladies call out to him to hurry up because they have been waiting too long. Yokurata decides to abandon his conversation with Akira so he can satisfy the ladies. But Akira stops him to ask one last question. He wonders what happened to Tawasa after the war ended, and Yokurata admits he doesn't have an answer because nobody knows. Akira doesn't understand what he is trying to say, so Yokurata explains that Tawasa established OWEL after the war, along with the 6 sages, and then she vanished without a trace right after. Akira is surprised to learn that she founded OWEL, but Yokorotta reveals that was the last time she was seen alive. Akira becomes hopeful that she could still be alive. Yokorotta reminds him that the war happened nearly 200 years ago, so it is unlikely she has survived for that long in isolation. He says goodbye to Akira and leaves with the ladies. Akira is so heartbroken that he doesn't move an inch even after Yokorotta leaves. Yugure wonders if he is alright, and he admits he is. He goes to clear his head by playing table tennis against the wall, but he keeps remembering Yokorotta's words because, logically, Tawasa isn't supposed to be alive. However, Akira decides not to give up on his search because, logically, he isn't supposed to be alive as well. He heads out to the bath to cool off and he decides to swim across, but he accidentally grabs Yugure. He apologizes to her and offers to leave, but she waves off his offer and insists he can stay as long as he doesn't look at her. Meanwhile, Amoru stays out to draw the garden of the resort. Ajisai comes out with Hanayama to meet her. Hanayama admits that the garden is beautiful, but Ajisai indirectly mocks her for being a know-it-all who doesn't contribute anything to the resort, and she gets annoyed. She asks Amoru how she would feel if someone planned a date behind her back, without checking to ensure her schedule allows it. Amoru gets caught up in their quarrel and her brain overheats. She runs away because she can't stand the nightmare of both of them pretending to be an Eolcia. Back at the bath, Yugure drops the shy damsel act and gives Akira a massage. She asks him why he took a bullet for her at the restaurant, and Akira admits that his body moved before he could think because he knew she would have been able to handle the bullet. He wonders what Yugure is doing to him, and she reveals that she is giving him a massage to thank him for taking a bullet for her. Amoru walks in on them and accuses them of bathing without her. She jumps in immediately because she doesn't want to miss the fun. After the bath, Amoru asks Yokorotta the best spot for sketching, and he points her to the third strike crater because it has the best scenery. Hanayama suggests another location, and Amoru is eager to check it out. Hanayama offers to give her a ride there the next day because it's on her way to work. In the spirit of granting requests, Akira asks Yugure if there is anything she would like him to do for her as repayment, since she took care of him while he was recovering from his injuries. Yugure thinks for a minute and asks him to take her out on a date. While Amoru and Yugure are still asleep, Akira walks into the hot spring bath and is surprised to find Yokorotta and the female commissioner already there. He feels awkward seeing them together, and Yokorotta casually explains that the resort allows mixed bathing and they entered at the same time. Yokorotta playfully urges Akira to join in so he doesn't catch a cold before spending time with Yugure. Akira insists to himself it's not a date. During breakfast, Yugure eats only a single serving, which surprises Akira since he expects her to go for more. Earlier that morning, Yugure had woken Amoru, saying she needed to have a private talk with her. Later, as Amoru prepares to head out, Akira asks Yokorotta to look after her. Amoru finds his concern unnecessary and calls him a worrywart. The female commissioner approaches and teasingly brings up the earlier bath, leaving Amoru shocked and misunderstanding the situation. Akira becomes flustered as he tries to explain himself, but Amoru simply says he'll have to explain everything later when she returns. She then leaves with Yokorotta and the female commissioner. Soon after, Miss Ajisai appears behind Akira, teasing him that he must have enjoyed himself. Startled, Akira tries to defend himself, but stops when he notices Yugure dressed beautifully in a kimono, leaving him speechless. Miss Ajisai reminds him not to mess up the date and tells him to make sure he gets at least a kiss or two. Meanwhile, Amoru, Yokorotta, and the female commissioner walk through the forest toward the observation deck to see the third strike crater. The female commissioner explains that despite its ominous name, the lake is beautiful and one of her favorite places. She mentions it was recently discovered to contain valuable minerals, and Yokorotta adds that OWEL plans to develop the area, possibly using the new tour resort as a mining base. Amoru is shocked by this, realizing OWEL intends to destroy the resort. The female commissioner insists she'll stop it, but Yokorotta doubts her, pointing out she's still the commissioner overseeing the project. The female commissioner explains she's grown attached to the resort over the years and that it means a lot to Miss Ajisai. She also admits that because she hasn't resigned from OWEL, her relationship with Miss Ajisai has become strained. When Amoru asks if she's tried speaking to Miss Ajisai about the mining plans, the commissioner confesses she's afraid Miss Ajisai might never forgive her, as New Tour is deeply precious to her. At the same time, Akira and Yugure walk together, enjoying the peaceful day. Yugure comments on how pleasant it feels, and Akira quietly agrees. His walking pace is quick, causing Yugure to hurry to keep up until he notices and stops, slowing down to match her pace as he apologizes. As they continue their walk, she asks if he has anything planned for their date. He replies he does and hopes they can make the most of their time together and have fun. Along the way, they notice a stall selling meat rolls. Akira buys 2 sticks and hands one to Yugure, commenting she didn't eat much during breakfast. Flustered, she admits it's because she doesn't want her face to look puffy while on the date. Curious, Akira wonders if an android can even get a puffy face. Yugure responds it's only a psychological habit, not something physical. Akira tells her to eat before the food gets cold, and when she takes a bite, she lights up with excitement, amazed by how delicious it tastes. A moment later, Yugure becomes fascinated by the flowers nearby. She asks if Akira ever gave Miss Feeds a flower before. He says he's surprised she remembered, then asks which she prefers, flowers or dango. She almost says dango, but quickly changes her answer to flowers. Later, Akira surprises her with an ice cream cone shaped like a flower. Yugure looks at it and says if she eats it, she won't have it anymore, but Akira tells her this kind of flower suits her best. Pretending to be disappointed, she takes a bite anyway, while Akira quietly watches her with a smile. Meanwhile, Amoru sits on the observation deck, sketching the landscape of the Third Strike crater. The female commissioner comments that the crater is a popular date spot. This makes Amoru recall her earlier conversation with Yugure, who told her she and Akira were going on a date. Amoru had wanted to join them, but Yugure asked for a little alone time with Akira, and Amoru reluctantly agreed. Returning to the present, Amoru quietly admits to herself she wishes she could have gone too. Back with Akira and Yugure, the two continue their walk through the forest. Yugure suddenly stumbles after stepping on a loose stone, nearly falling, but Akira quickly catches her hand to steady her. They both realize her slipper strap has torn, and she sighs, saying she owes Miss Aegisai an apology for ruining it. Akira kneels down, helps her remove the broken slipper, and carefully fixes it. As he finishes, he notes she hasn't seemed like herself lately. Yugure smiles brightly, thanks him, and runs ahead, saying he just made her day. Watching her, Akira can't help but murmur that she looks very beautiful, causing Yugure to blush deeply. Elsewhere, Amoru shares her feelings with Yokurata, explaining that letting Akira and Yugure go on a date has left her feeling uneasy. Yokurata gently advises her to express what she feels in words. After a pause, Amoru admits she truly loves both Akira and Yugure and wants the 3 of them to stay together. As she spots the 2 of them from afar on a bridge, she confesses that seeing them on a date makes her heart ache, and she quietly wonders what she should do about it. Yokurata advises Amoru to be honest and straightforward about her feelings, but Amoru hesitates, saying it would make things uncomfortable for everyone. Yokurata explains that love is naturally selfish, and such feelings are part of being human. After thinking about it, Amoru decides she'll try to talk to Akira and Yugure. Meanwhile, Yokurata turns to the female commissioner and asks what she plans to do, whether she's truly afraid Miss Aegisai might give up on her. The female commissioner softly replies that Miss Aegisai is actually a kind and gentle person. During the Common Era year 2045, Tawasa works on repairing a dog droid named Davut. An automated voice comments that the droid feels like a child shared between her and Akira, as she carefully performs maintenance on it, almost as if expressing her affection for him through her actions. Tawasa wonders aloud if an AI can fall in love with a human. The automated voice responds that artificial intelligence has no physical form or emotions. However, Tawasa disagrees, saying that if an AI exists to serve and protect its user, it will naturally want to become special to that person someday. The automated voice then asks if it's special to her, and Tawasa answers yes. She explains that emotions don't depend on having a physical body. They arise when someone genuinely cares for another. Those emotions, she adds, are what inspire people or even machines to keep moving forward. Later, Akira and Yugure walk together through a vast cavern. Just as Akira is about to speak, Yugure tells him it was her sister, Yoyami, who opened the cavern, and that both Yoyami and Hakubo are her sisters. She reveals the weaponized androids were created to end the AI war. Akira realizes Yugure is an outside series, a special kind of android designed for combat. Yugure then asks how he feels knowing she's a weapon of war. Akira admits that since he was unconscious through much of it, it all feels like a distant story. Something hard to believe, even as he looks at the world around him. Yugure asks if he isn't afraid of her despite knowing what she is. Akira reminds her she's saved his life several times. She adds that, if she wanted, she could easily expand the crater in seconds. Akira smiles and says he prefers the way she is now, just as she is. Yugure blushes at his words and tells him he's acting strange for saying such nice things, but Akira teases her back, calling her the weird one for bringing up the war during their date and for trying to eat less. He then rephrases his teasing as appreciation, which makes her giggle. She admits she hasn't been herself lately because of him, and jokingly tells him to take responsibility by marrying her. Akira bursts into laughter, saying she hasn't said that in a long time. Yugure takes his hand and suggests they take a photo together to remember the day. Using her smartwatch as a camera, the countdown begins. She mischievously remarks that if he plans to kiss her, now would be the perfect time. Akira becomes flustered that she heard his thought, but she laughs it off, saying she was only joking. As the camera flashes, she smiles brightly and tells him she loves him very much. The picture captures her smiling sweetly while Akira stands there, stunned by her words. When they return, Miss Ajisai greets them and asks how far they went. Akira answers they went near the third strike crater, but Miss Ajisai clarifies she meant something else by her question. At that moment, Amoru and the others arrive. Miss Ajisai begins to welcome them but freezes when she spots the female commissioner. Without a word, she turns to walk away, but the commissioner calls out, insisting they need to talk. Miss Ajisai tries to ignore her, yet the commissioner continues, explaining that valuable minerals were discovered under the resort last year, and OWEL now plans to mine the area. She reveals both the crater and the town are set to become excavation sites. When Miss Ajisai asks about the fate of the resort, the commissioner replies that if things continue like this, it won't survive. Miss Ajisai becomes deeply saddened by the news and is even more shocked to learn the female commissioner is the one overseeing the mining project. The commissioner quickly explains she never resigned from OWEL because she wanted to stop the development from within. Miss Ajisai worries that if she interferes, she might be charged with treason, but the commissioner assures her none of that matters, because Miss Ajisai is more precious to her than anything else. Overwhelmed by emotion, Miss Ajisai insists she has to hit her, but when the commissioner agrees, Miss Ajisai only gives her a soft pat on the cheeks and kisses her instead. She tells her she'll share the burden with her, and the two embrace while the others quietly look on. Later that evening, Yugure helps Amoru comb her hair in their room. Yugure thanks her for the day, admitting she saw them during the date and didn't like how it made her feel. She confesses she wanted to be with them but felt left out. Yugure reminds her this is why she asked for permission first, and adds she's glad she got to spend some time alone with Akira. Amoru pouts, saying it isn't fair and that she regrets agreeing to it. She declares she won't act like Miss Nice Girl anymore. Yugure teases her, saying she's looking forward to that new side of her. Amoru smirks and replies she'll make sure they all reach Ilse together. The next morning, Miss Ajisai and the female commissioner see Akira, Yugure, and Amoru off at the gate. There, they meet Yokurata waiting for them. He says he's also searching for something and believes he might find it if he travels with them. Since he's familiar with Sendai, he offers to act as their guide. The group sets out on a transit bus, later stopping at a hotel for the night. The following morning, they continue their journey on another bus towards Sendai. During the trip, Yokurata borrows Akira's watch, saying he could have just asked from the beginning and promising to tell Akira if he discovers anything. When they arrive at their destination, he hands the watch back, claiming he didn't find anything, though he secretly noticed something intriguing. From the overlook, they gaze at the sprawling city of Sendai. Yokurata explains that many elite training facilities for Tokyo's top professionals are based there, and calling the city an academic hub would be accurate. He adds that all kinds of knowledge, including hidden historical records and restricted documents, are stored there. Other than OWEL's headquarters, nowhere else holds such vast information. Akira states he plans to look into it, but Yugure warns him that OWEL tightly controls the flow of information. Yokurata smiles and says he can handle that, since Sendai contains more knowledge than they could imagine. They soon arrive at a massive library known as the Tower of Learning, Sendai's pride and joy. Yokurata explains they might find what they're looking for there. However, when they reach the section containing the materials they need, they find the shelves nearly empty with only a few scattered books. Akira wonders if the volumes were misplaced, but Yokurata replies that the librarian there is meticulous and wouldn't make such a mistake. They decide to meet the librarian, Seishat, who is pleasantly surprised and happy to see Yokurata. Akira asks her if the library holds any records about Tawasa Okunagi and the AI War. Seishat freezes, unable to respond. Yokurata concludes the materials must be restricted and then reveals to everyone that he works for OWEL, shocking both Akira and Yugure. Yokurata begins flirting with Seishat, who, flustered, explains that the book Akira seeks was censored and likely no longer exists anywhere. Ignoring the tension, Yokurata asks when she finishes work, clearly hinting at asking her out. As they leave the library, Akira, still curious, asks if Seishat is his girlfriend, but Yokurata avoids giving a straight answer. Outside, Yugure notices Amaru seems distant, but Amaru insists she's fine. Yokurata then suggests that since they didn't find the information they were searching for, they should head to Tokyo, where there might be a chance to uncover it. However, the next train to Tokyo doesn't depart until the following afternoon. He proposes that in the meantime, they can explore other places in Sendai that store books, including the closed stacks, restricted sections that might contain classified materials. When Akira asks how they're supposed to access a place like that, Yokurata smirks and shows them a key, saying he managed to get it with a little magic trick. Akira is surprised that Yokurata stole the key from Seishat while he was pretending to flirt with her. Yokurata isn't bothered because he knows Seishat will forgive him if he apologizes, since she's always had a soft spot for him. He informs Akira he's going on a date with Seishat, which will make his search of the restricted section easier. Akira wonders why Yokurata is suddenly so nice to him, and he reveals he's also interested in what he's searching for, so he'll be grateful if he gets answers. Akira is still hesitant to accept Yokurata's favor, but Amuro talks over him and agrees to take the key. Akira finally concedes because they'll never get another chance like that to explore the restricted part of the library uninterrupted. He thanks Yokurata for allowing him to borrow the key, but Yokurata notices they still have some time before nightfall. He suggests visiting the underground book market to find the information Akira requires, as it's known for rare items. He urges them to go ahead while he returns home, and Amoru is surprised he's abandoning them. He points out he needs to return home to plan for his date, so Seishat doesn't suspect any foul play. He waves them goodbye and wishes them good luck. Akira decides to return to the station and buy their tickets for the next train ride first. Yugure asks Amoru if she's found anything relating to her parents' storybook, but she's surprised by the question because she never expected her to take note of her actions. Akira reminds her they made a promise to search for her parents' books together, and she's so flattered that she rushes over to hug them. A pulse suddenly emerges from Yugure's head, and she suddenly pushes Akira and Amoru to the other side of the road. Amoru wonders what's happening, and Yugure reveals Yoyami and Hakubo are nearby, so they need to avoid them at all costs. They hide in an alley and peek out to observe both of them and make sure they're not being followed. Yugure figures out they discovered they were heading south by searching all the towns they visited. She offers to act as a decoy and lead them to another location using another station, but Akira doesn't like the idea because it puts her in danger. Yugure insists it's the best course of action because that's the only way to avoid a direct confrontation with the girls. Yugure apologizes to Amoru because she won't join her to look for her parents' storybooks anymore. She orders Akira to watch over her during her absence. She also warns him not to try to take advantage of the little girl, since she won't be there to keep an eye on him. She asks him to buy her a ticket because she doesn't want to get held up at the station. She jumps to the roof and some scout crows working for Hakubo spot her. An explosion goes off and Yoyami is eager to chase after Yugure, but Hakubo is suspicious because she's acting out of character. Yoyami dismisses her suspicions because this is a premium opportunity they can't miss. She lunges after Yugure and Hakubo follows. Meanwhile, Akira and Amoru head to the station to get train tickets to Tokyo. They can only afford a third-class train ticket because it's so expensive they leave the station. And Akira suggests they may need to apply for menial jobs because they're running out of money. Amoru assures him things aren't that serious. She suddenly spots a small town behind an alley and calls Akira's attention to it. They enter the alley and Akira gets a good view of the town with a lake at the middle. Amoru begins to explore and forces Akira to take her shopping. She compels him to buy different foodstuffs and tries out different clothes in the boutique before leaving. She leads Akira to a bracelet shop. She begs Akira to get them a matching set with yellow, red, and blue colors for her, him, and Yugure. Akira reminds her they don't have enough money, but the vendor offers them a discount if they buy all three. Amoru turns on her bargaining charm and almost gets the bracelets for free. The vendor surrenders to his fate because he can't out-bargain Amoru. He advises Akira to keep her close and treasure her because she'll make a fine partner in the future. Akira suddenly notices an earring that catches his eye. They leave the shop and Amoru is giggling with so much excitement that Akira wonders what's wrong with her. She reveals she's so happy that she can't contain her excitement. She begs Akira to take her to the next shop. After their shopping spree, they hang out on a public bench. Amoru is satisfied with their haul. Because they have enough to make their journey, Akira knows they only bought so much because of her strong bargaining power. Amoru's stomach suddenly growls and she tries to hide it, but Akira takes it as a signal for lunch. He brings out some food, but he has a hard time eating. Amoru figures out he's too worried about Yugure to eat, and he admits he can't stop thinking about her. because Hakubo and Yoyami looked dangerous. Amoru asks him if he's in love with Yugure, and he wonders where such an unexpected question is coming from. She points out she had to ask because they went on a date a few days ago without her. She admits it was tough for her to watch both of them spending time alone without her, because she likes it better when they're together as a trio. She knows Akira wants to marry Tawasa, but Yugure wants to marry Akira. She's caught in the middle because she wants to be in a relationship with both of them. She admits she doesn't know Tawasa, but she's sure she must be a good person since she likes Akira. She agrees to make their relationship a four-way union, if that's what Akira wants. Akira explains she's missing the point he's been trying to explain to her since the beginning. He points out the type of marriage he wants is the union between him and the person he loves. Amoru recalls that Yugure told her the same thing. She grabs Akira's arm and reveals she loves both of them equally, but Akira can't find the words to reply, so she drops the subject. They head to the underground book market, and Amoru is certain Akira will get some information there because their collection of books is astounding. Akira also feels confident his search is coming to an end. He begins examining the book titles when Mr. Oboro spots him and calls out to him. Akira wonders what he's doing in such a compromising place, and he reveals he switched to running a secondhand bookshop because being a cabbie wasn't enough to pay the bills. He asks what Akira is looking for, and Akira approaches him and whispers he's looking for some banned books. Mr. Oboro screams out in surprise, and Akira tries to shut him up so he doesn't alert the other vendors, but it's too late. They surround them because they can't let them get away after they mentioned their search for banned books. They begin to recount how Owell cracked down on them and took away all the banned books they spent years gathering. They curse them for ruining their hard work during their raids, but Mr. Oboro is surprised because he didn't encounter them. The vendor informs him it happened just before he came into town, and Mr. Oboro realizes the raid was quite recent. Amoru wonders if they still have any books left since the raid was so recent, and the vendor reaches into his pocket and produces a book on electrical engineering. He reveals it's the only book he managed to save from the raid. The other vendors also produce the books they kept from OWEL. Akira goes through all the books, but he doesn't find anyone with the information he needs. The vendors apologize for getting his hopes up for nothing. They begin to wonder what Owell did with all the books they took away during their raids. Their best guess is they stored them at the library. They inform Akira they're most likely in the closed stacks inside the library because Seishat was the one in charge of the raid. They're certain the books will be there because that's where they store illegal books and books they plan to burn. Akira doesn't feel so confident he'll find the book because they'll have been burnt, but the vendor points out Seishat will never allow that to happen because she has a weird obsession with books. They speculate she's probably holding the books for safekeeping because she could never bear to see them burnt. Akira frantically reaches into his bag to find the key because it's obvious the library is their best chance at finding the book they need. One of the vendors hands him the library's floor plan and urges him to be cautious. They head to an inn and book a room for the night, but the room only has one bed, so Akira offers it to Amoru. She hops on the bed and asks him to wake her when it's time to leave. She drifts off to sleep seconds later, and Akira can't believe how quickly she went to sleep. He takes the floor plan from her hands and silently apologizes to her. He promises to return when he finds the book he's looking for. He heads out to the library and monitors the guards for a minute. He takes note of their pattern and times his entry to their patrol route. He swings into action, but Amoru suddenly calls out to him angrily. She's pissed off he went off without her, but Akira explains he was only trying to protect her, since Yugure isn't present to guarantee their safety. Amoru insists she has to tag along because Akira can't recognize her parents' books. Akira agrees but warns her to run if things get too dicey. Amoru agrees to his condition, and they sneak into the library. Akira follows the floor plan, and they make it into the room leading to the closed stack section without being seen, but they come up against a metal door with a digital lock. Akira wonders why the door is still operational when there is a ban on digital processing tech. He feels around the handle and discovers that it requires a keycard. Amoru searches around the office and stumbles on the keycard. They swipe it, and the door beeps to confirm the card swipe. A guard gets alerted by the beep, so he decides to investigate the room. Amoru and Akira struggle to pull the door open as the guard keeps getting closer. Amoru suddenly figures out that it is a push door, so they quickly enter inside and shut the door behind them before the guard enters. The guard figures out that the noise was caused by his imagination, so he returns to his patrol. However, Seishat gets an alert on her phone and she gets out of bed. Yokorata wonders if something is bothering her, and she reveals that she has to go to the library because they are the only place that gives her life. Back at the library, Akira and Amaru scan through the book titles, but Akira suddenly spots a door that looks out of place. He figures out that there must be something special about it for it to stand out so much. He approaches the door, but a guard enters the room from another door because he heard some noise. Akira and Amaru scramble to hide while the guard is trying to find them. Amaru spills some books, and the guard follows the noise. They hide behind some bookshelves, but they can hear the guard approaching. Akira begins to panic because he doesn't know what to do, but Amaru shrugs off her fears and suddenly runs out to meet the guard. She tackles him to the ground, but he subdues her and begins to thank his stars for the free meal they have given him. Akira comes from behind and puts the guard to sleep. He is glad that his body hasn't forgotten the judo lesson he took years ago. They tie the guard up and enter the room. Akira turns on the light and looks around the room. He concludes that it is a private office owned by someone with a strange obsession with banned books. Amaru points out that Akira reminded her about her dad moments ago. She explains that her dad is always kind and friendly, but he becomes tough and scary when anything threatens their safety. She recalls when OWEL soldiers were raiding their city, and her mother advised her to run away and never look back. A soldier hit her on the head with a baton and called over another officer so they could capture Amaru, but her father tackled the other officer before he could reach her. Amaru was worried about him, but he ordered her to run away. He told her that he loved her, but the soldiers teamed up to take him out. Amaru was so sad, but she had to run away because she didn't have a choice. She thanks Akira for saving her, but Akira waves off her thanks because he learned basic self-defense at school, while Tawasa was completely useless at it. Amaru is curious about the kind of person Tawasa was, and Akira explains that she was a ray of sunshine that made everything around her bright. Akira begins to feel nostalgic as the memories flood his head. Amaru checks up on him to make sure he is alright, and he assures her that he is fine. He suddenly notices a cloth covering a glass of books. He moves the cloth aside and scans the books within it. He suddenly stops as he notices a book about Tawasa's research. He tries to open the glass, but it doesn't budge. Amaru offers to break the glass with a chair, but Seishat uses a whip to knock it out of her hands. She orders the soldier to call for backup while she deals with the intruders. She begins to lash out at them for defiling her precious lovers. She breaks the glass with her whip and releases the books within it. Amaru's parents' storybook and Tawasa's research book fall to the floor. Akira begs Seishat to release those books since they are the only ones they need, but she refuses because she doesn't want anyone to put their hands on her books. She can't bear to live with the pain of being separated from them. Akira tries to negotiate and talk Seishat into handing over the books, but Amaru is done talking. She rushes over to a lamp in the room and threatens to burn down everything if Seishat doesn't hand over the books. Sasha tries to use her whip to stop Amaru, but she ends up breaking the lamp and spilling oil all over her books. The lamp ignites the books, and the room goes up in flames. Akira picks up Amaru and tries to find a way out, but Amaru refuses to go without their books. Akira advises against it because the room is overwhelmed with flames, but she points out that the books haven't been affected by the fire yet. She acknowledges that Akira has done enough for her, so she won't mind if he leaves her parents' storybook behind, but she begs him to get Tawasa's research book. Akira locks in and decides to go for the book.